So we have explored options of how to communicate this to patients, and we were previously sending out newsletters, but the problem we faced is the government has not really been clear in its communication. For the last 2 years, or last 12 years, we've been hearing things about dental contract reform, and it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming, and even this last year, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for news on what's happening in April, and the government doesn't tell us anything, and that's because the government, unfortunately, is not in a position to be an organised body that informs patients and the public properly. When COVID happened, we found out that we were reopening after COVID on the news. We weren't told beforehand, and that's the level of communication that we've received. So unfortunately, we waited and waited because we were waiting for dental contract reform, where hopefully something would change that would entice dentists to come back to the workforce and we would be able to provide care. But it has not happened, and we really do not know what's going on with the contract from April. There were small changes that the government made, and the government said that these were milestone changes, but they weren't. These were based on recommendations made in 2008. So it takes the government a long time to make a decision. We've got a new health secretary. I don't know how long they will last in the position. But every time someone comes in, we hear a lot about NHS dentistry and these deserts where you can't get a dentist, which is true. But the government is not acting swiftly enough. So unfortunately, we've waited and waited, and we got tired of telling patients keep waiting, because those patients did come and have suffered by waiting because they're hoping for an NHS checkup when unfortunately they need to make a decision about what they want to do with their oral care. And we don't want to take responsibility for patients not coming to see us because in the hopes that they're waiting for an NHS dentist, when in reality we are unlikely to be, we are not going to hit a contract, and we will likely not have a contract come April 2023. So it is worrying, but we wanted to get this communication out when we knew where the writing was on the wall. And we've now rebuilt our team to a team that is worthy of providing the best care we feel is out there. Yeah. We've always wanted to provide NHS care. Historically, since my brother and I and my sister, we brought practice in 2004 and founded S3 Dental. We've always been an NHS practice. We've historically pursued NHS care. We've never shied away from that commitment. And when practices closed, and the practice closed about 2 years before the pandemic, in 2018, the practice closed when they left the NHS. They gave the patients 3 months' notice. We took on the bulk of those patients. I mean, we registered in one day over 136 patients. So we've always been a long-standing practice in the area that was taking on NHS care. So it's disappointing the fact that we can't provide NHS care the way we want to, but the workforce is not there. I have worked on the NHS for many, many years, and I did stop working on the NHS for a time because as I developed my career, the level of dentistry that I wanted to provide and how I want to provide it, the NHS didn't cater for. So naturally, as clinicians, as people, we develop and grow. There's an element of you want to try something new and you want to be able to do something new, and you don't want to be doing what you did on your first day of your career, on the last day of your career. So there's challenges to be had. But the practice always has great clinicians. And when I moved from the NHS to a private basis, I made sure that the clinician who took over for me was a very good clinician and provided the best care that he could. And we've always tried that, but unfortunately, we just don't have that influx of workforce coming through. And that's the concern, really, is that I don't know what the next generation of dentists qualifying are going to be able to provide, because there is no way of assessing them, especially post-pandemic. The level of care they're providing in the NHS is going to be very limited. So there are challenges ahead. And if we could provide NHS care and it was feasible and the government provided a fair dental contract, I'm sure there would be dentists who would come back to the NHS because we've committed, we've looked after so many patients that we do feel like it was worth looking after. But the biggest betrayal to the NHS has been the government. They have not funded it properly. And this isn't just the Conservative government, this is previous governments, Labour government, who introduced the Dental Contract 2006. So there is a lot out there across all parties who just simply don't care enough about NHS dentistry for it to matter.